Thank you so much. It is great to be here. I am excited, and I think the fact we are all here at Saturday at 8:30 p.m. talking about decentralized AI agents is exhibit A of how much energy there is in the space right now. I'm looking forward to diving into all of this, kind of sifting out what's real, what's hype. First, can you each kind of give a quick intro of yourself and what you're focused on and what kind of your project's North Star is?
Hi, my name is Abraham Choi. I am the CBDO and partner at Vyletel Ventures. We are an advisory consultancy and incubator and venture studio. So our focus is really in AI infrastructure, AI agents, decentralized compute, and pretty much we're pretty agnostic, but we love what AI could bring into the new age, I think, of technology. So yeah.
Cameron?
Okay, so my name is Cameron Dennis. I've been building crypto for about 8 years. I currently work at Near AI, and where I primarily manage a lot of integrations. I used to manage our investment committee, and I also used to do all investor relations for the Near Foundation. Also helped raise about 800 mil for the Near Foundation. So yeah, now we're primarily just deploying capital into teams that are building things that are really solving problems for people, which is not most agents projects. So.
Spicy take. We will get into that later. Marshall?
Hi, everyone. I'm Marshall. I'm on the investment team at 1KX, and I'm primarily leading all of the AI agent research for us. My background is in math and computer science, so in addition to looking at all of these things from an investment perspective, which is obviously my job, I've also been pretty hands-on with a lot of the technology as well, and building a lot of agents, exploring different protocols, both in Web 2 and Web 3. So I'll try to bring that into this discussion and make sure that we're grounding all of this in some sort of interesting technical conversation as well.
Beautiful. And Phil?
I'm Phil Bonello, CIO at Plaintext Capital. We're a hedge fund, so I probably bring a bit of a more short-term perspective to this panel. We've been fortunate enough to be early on a lot of the AI stuff over the last couple of years. BitTensor in 2023, a lot of the agent stuff in 2024. So happy to kind of share my short-term and long-term perspective.
So I know everyone here is excited about this overall space. I view our mission, in a sense, is to also splash some cold water into it. And if the space is going to grow, if it's real, if it's legit, it kind of has to be able to withstand that. It has to be able to get that cold water and see if it still works. So again, we're all here to nerd out on this pretty niche topic, the grand scheme of things. So the energy is there, but what strikes you guys as like hype versus substance right now in the world of decentralized AI agents? And of course, there's no hype in this room. All the projects mentioned earlier, we're hype-free zone, but broadly speaking, who wants to jump in with the most contrarian? Let's go for it.
I'll speak on the, substance side first. So I'm really excited about, I think, on the medical side, one of my friends, he's in stealth mode right now, but he's building, so for example, on the medical side, there's scripts and all these different medical systems, but he's trying to automate that system. So you can speak into it, since there's so much manpower from nurses, PAs, and doctors that goes into writing reports. So he's trying to automate the system and actually save hospitals money. I think that's huge utility, right? It will save billions of dollars per year for almost all hospital systems. And another one is gaming. So even NVIDIA and also a gaming firm called PUBG. So for example, there's lonely players, right? They don't have friends to play with, but there's AI companions that you could play with. So for example, if you're one person on a team, on a squad, you can actually play with these AI companions that are actually on par, the same level as your rank, right?
Right.
So AI agents are changing the game for, I think, especially in the medical field and the gaming and the consumer applications field. So for me, that's very exciting as well. But also I think on the legal side of things, for example, legal research and legal clerks working in legal fields, they use LexisNexis, all these legal documents that they have to go through all these court cases, but all these AI agents are now expediting their research. So for me, those kinds of AI agents are very exciting for me.
And I believe it was Cameron. Did you say that you also wanted to make sure you had a spicy take of what's not working or what? So,
yeah, I mean, on the gaming side, I've been playing games my entire life, and I've always had the ability to play against a bot, so I don't see a need for an AI agent to play against. When it comes to agents generally, there's like no benchmarks, really. Like if you go talk to any legitimate AI researcher or founder, they're like, oh, like how is your agent actually performing against the human doing the other job? And there needs to be a benchmark. If without a benchmark, your agent's not even able to be evaluated properly. And so this whole industry is not going to make it unless we start creating quality benchmarks.
Yeah, I just want to double down on that because I think it's incredibly important. And this sort of goes into what I think is probably the most overhyped thing right now is that, everybody's hooking up all of their agents with the massive models and, paying credits to Claude and OpenAI. And to me, this sort of feels like we're just trying to boil the ocean. We have this 700 billion parameter model asking us to perform swaps. And I'm just like, there's probably a better way to distill this in a much more efficient way. And so this kind of leads me into what I think I'm the most excited about. There's a massive gulf between, simple embeddings models that are used for creating vector databases and these insane models that we're using to kind of do everything. And in between there's a lot of really exciting things that I think we're going to start seeing. And this goes into sort of the decentralized fine-tuning and data management stuff that we're seeing a lot of. I don't think we found the form factor for exactly how to enable that the right way yet. But I think as we learn more about how to really use these things, like that critical distance between the smallest models and the biggest is going to become extremely interesting.
Phil, how about you?
Yeah, just to, I guess, take kind of a positive spin on this. I think where we currently are is in the process of building the connective tissue within crypto. And that's really important because agents are just workers, and that's important. But ultimately, what we need is a lot of entrepreneurs. And we need entrepreneurs to come and take these agents, all these multi-agent systems, and build something that actually matters. The connective tissue is super important, and a lot of projects are building this, like including OLAS. There are tons of different frameworks that are doing this. It's important. We're not really there yet, and my point is basically like the workers are super important. The connective tissue is important, but it's going to take a little bit of time before we have workers that can actually contribute to an entrepreneur's vision, I guess.
But we need the actual experts to come in and say, hey, this is what a good person in this industry does. This is quality.
Yeah.
So the agent builder can then go build the thing to do better than the worker. Without that, it's, again, not going to make it.
I'm not actually sure that's true. And the reason that I say that is because I think generally, yes, we need a much more rigorous approach for how we're trying to build these things. And it goes into QA. It goes into defining strict parameters that we want to optimize over. But what I've noticed in just speaking with a lot of the AI specific researchers that I know is, when you have such deep domain knowledge in a specific technical field, it's like, if you have a hammer, everything's a nail. And I think that, if you try to go a fully AI technical research route with it, you'll probably miss a lot of really small gains that can be made just by making workflows more efficient in code, for example. There's a lot of really concrete technical examples I can get of that. Not to say what you're saying is untrue, but I actually would underweight the importance of it slightly.
Well, just like if you're building a legal agent, you want lawyers to be somewhere in the loop there to say, hey, this thing is actually going to solve my problems, which is actually my hot take, is that crypto people aren't actually ready to enter this whole agent land because people are going to have to start caring about revenue a lot more. And because you're now building an agent that is actually supposed to be doing something again in the real world and you're competing against other humans. So,
well, that's a great segue. I love the conflict. We're going to get more conflict in a moment because I'm going to ask you a hotter take, or not a take, a spicy question. You mentioned crypto, Phil. Abraham, if maybe I misheard, but I think the examples you gave, they could be centralized AI agents, the gaming stuff, right? So I guess the spicy question that might get hisses from this crowd, how much does crypto matter in this world? Why do they need to?
It's a great question.
Why do they need to be decentralized? Is it for purely ideological reasons, or will they be more functional thanks to this space?
Yeah, I think you could take a variety of approaches as far as how you actually build the agent, but why
why you apply it to crypto is because I believe at least that a lot of finance and a lot of activity will eventually be on crypto rails, right? I don't think DeFi is going away. So you're going to want agents to participate in that total economy, right? There's going to be a space that's going to grow for decades to come. And so whether that's a centralized agent infrastructure, centralized agents doing work on crypto rails, or decentralized autonomous agents that are built with a fully, permissionless and censorship-resistant backend, it doesn't really matter. I think the point is just that you need to build agents to participate in what is going to be a really big economy.
And just to clarify also, and I failed to intro myself, I'm pro-crypto. I write for Coindesk. I just launched a new podcast all about the crypto and AI intersection called The People's AI. But I think it's important that the crypto world be able to explain why it's necessary. Like, my girlfriend who's here in the crowd, she is not at all into crypto. There should be a way to explain to the normies out there who are not in this world why it matters. So I guess another way of asking this question is, couldn't AI agents just use credit cards? And why do they need to have a token-based system? What's your take on that? Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they absolutely can use a credit card, and in many cases, they absolutely should use a credit card. I think where crypto will really thrive here is like, I look at crypto as sort of like a novel communication mechanism, right? There's a public ledger that we can all permissionlessly interact with. It's sort of like you can see all the sort of token activity as a communication tool. And it's probably got the best chance to be like the coordination substrate for multi-agent frameworks or discoverability for these things, and sort of attaching them with like really, really great, well battle-tested financial rails that are transparent is probably going to be a good thing, especially as these things grow in the level of autonomy that they have. We want to have infrastructure that we understand and can see into a lot more effectively, which is, I think, probably the best chance for it to capture it. We should definitely stop just slapping tokens on GitHub repos. It's a bad idea. I think in a lot of cases it's exciting for narrative, and I think all the last few months of doing that was valuable. But I think that probably needs to end.
Abraham, how are you thinking about the overall landscape in terms of sheer volume of projects, right? If you were to try and map out all of the projects in the space, I haven't really seen this visual yet. I don't know if you could, you'd have to have 0.001 point font to fit it all on a page. There's thousands, right? So what's going to happen to all of these? Are these all cooperative, collaborative, competitive? Are there 200 projects trying to do the same thing? Or are they kind of like Lego pieces that snap together? As an investor, how do you see that feel?
That's a good question. I'll probably use an AI agent to help me. Make sure the mapping and stuff. I think Coinbase does a very good job, and also on KX and all these other different firms helps create a fine roadmap and mapping up the whole ecosystem. But yeah, personally, there's a lot of noise, of course, in the industry. For example, virtuals. For me, I think that's hype. I think that's gonna die one day. Very useless in the industry. But for me, like I said, there's certain firms, and also building on his last. What he said before, definitely I think on top of that, I think reward mechanisms like tokens. Why do we need tokens if you could use USDC? For example, like a legal firm is using decentralized nodes, and they're using researchers hey, lawyers, can you help us? Is this the right info that people are just doing inputs? Are they getting the right info? The reward mechanism should be maybe USDC, USDT. Why do you need a new token? Right? Or if they're on the SUI ecosystem or Near, they could use Near token instead of creating their own. Right? So, that's my take. There's too much tokens.
I think tokens are integral to crypto. Tokens are an amazing bootstrapping mechanism. The issue is that we don't have enough products after the bootstrapping occurs. So,
right.
So I think that tokens are great. Most of the people in Denver this week wouldn't be here without the millions of good and garbage tokens that we have, right? It brings a lot of attention to very valuable problems, and then over the long term you have capital and attention and people are actually working towards good things. It obviously brings a lot of slop as well, but
And Cameron, I never give you a chance to jump in on the kind of like give the full-throated reason why, and obviously, and I have to clarify, Near has done an incredible job building this ecosystem and connecting the world of, and obviously Ilya's chops in this space are bulletproof given his work at Google building this. But how would you explain, like, to a normie, of when you're building AI agents, it's important to do it in a decentralized way that involve crypto and tokens?
Yeah, I don't think decentralized agent actually makes any sense. It's like there's open source software that can power an agent running on certain hardware, but it's just open source. That is decentralized. It's replicatable. And then you don't even need to always make it open source. You just need to make it verifiable to make sure that you're using the agent that you think you're using, and there's no person in the background behind the curtain swapping your model for another model because it was trained on certain data that warrants, that was paid by some advertiser to give you a certain result. It's more about like verifiability and open source rather than decentralization. And then that verifiability comes through innovations around, really, you've probably heard this word a lot these days, but trusted execution environments. So you can actually just, one, make sure everything's private as well. All these agents will never understand your interests unless you tell it your interests. If you ask an agent to go buy you a cup of coffee, is it going to go buy you a cup of coffee full of beans? Or is it going to give you like hot coffee or cold coffee? It needs to understand your interests.
Yeah, sometimes it's like the meme of a genie just like twisting every wish you have. You're like, I want $1 billion, and it like tanks the U.S. economy, and but you have $1 billion. It sort of feels like that, and I think that's a good point.
Absolutely. So this is the investor panel, so I'd love to kind of hear more of a bit about your frameworks and how you think about investing in this like wild new space. Phil, I mean, we're in this uncharted territory here where typical metrics investors use, like, I don't know if they exist yet for this space, right? How do you think about, like, that's very basically, how do you decide what projects to invest in this new vertical, and what time horizon are you looking at? And what does success look like? What metrics are you considering?
Yeah, it might be a little simplistic, but like I tend to look at like the Gartner hype cycle, and you can invest along that curve, right? So we've had a lot of success in investing at the point of kind of innovation, and like when Goat Truth Terminal came out and Goat launched, that was a trigger for us to immediately kind of dump a lot of money into
the top is in.
Well, no, like when that launched, I was like, this is gonna go insane, right? And,
Right.
and as a liquid fund, that was a way that we invested, right? But I think a lot of the attention has been saturated, and attention follows capital very closely. So if all the attention is saturated, a lot of the capital is saturated in the space right now. So following the Gartner hype cycle, right? Like initial huge wave, fast money, you can make a ton of money really, really quickly, and then expectations kind of come back to reality, and then you have a long kind of slope of enlightenment, right, where products actually build something that's useful, and a lot of the time that's unsexy and people fade away. And you can kind of think about what happened with DeFi in 2020. It was the same sort of thing. Everyone got super hyped up about DeFi in 2020. It faded over the following few years. DeFi has never been stronger by pretty much all accounts, but it's not at the top of people's minds anymore. And I think we're going to have a multi-decade growth in DeFi. We're probably going to have a multi-decade growth in these AI agents, but it just, you have to, believe in something and stay the course.
Marshall, how about you? What's your framework like?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, 1KX is almost exclusively venture investing, right? And so our metrics look a lot different. And I mean, to be honest, especially right now, like this is going to be sort of a boring answer, but like founders. Right now, this space is pulling in a lot of people from just like all over the map that, want to get a piece of the AI agent thing. And so we're really indexing super heavily on people who have the right background to kind of approach what they're trying to do. Not exclusively. I mean, there's exceptions, right, for all of these things. But I think, finding the right founders that are actually well equipped to do what they're trying to do is kind of the most obvious and important thing. And then the second is protocols or frameworks or pieces of technology that have a chance to become a platform with network effects. And network effects in this case is a very simple definition of just, things that get better and stickier as they grow, right? And so what does that really look like? I'm not 100% sure yet. I mean, to be honest, I think Again, this sort of communication substrate is going to be one interesting example, but also like the whole, decentralized data pipelines are going to be really interesting. I don't think we know how to actually do value capture there yet. And this is why you're seeing everybody kind of try to build in this space like purpose-built L1 blockchains, because it's a very obvious source of revenue when you can drive transactions through a chain. But essentially, it's really those two things, like the right founder for the problem that they're trying to approach, but also a potential for it to become a serious, sticky platform.
Can I ask a very basic question? Maybe Abraham, you can jump in on this. How, when you're looking, we've seen like a lot of amazing presentations today. We've discussed a lot of very cool use cases. There are these awesome possibilities with AI agents. To what extent are you thinking about, how does this make money? Who's making money off it? Or is it more like, if the tech is this damn good and cool, someone will figure out a revenue and profit model? How do you think about that, Abraham?
I mean, like, I think it's really about the niche markets. Like, for example, like legal AI agents. Like, will they actually provide benefit? And if they do, obviously they'll be profitable, right? All these big, small, medium-sized, big for the biggest legal firms to like the smallest size legal firms, they probably use those services, right? Because every single one of them uses legal research. If they're using an AI agent, I'm sure it'll be very profitable. Same thing with hospital, because I give you an example of the hospital side as well. If the hospital health medical AI agents actually provide value, I'm sure they will be eventually profitable, right? So I think it's really about utility and actual like.
Makes sense. And as far as your own personal or the fund's kind of investing framework, to the extent that you can kind of share how you're looking at the space.
I mean, it's really like product market fit. The founders is really a big part of it, right? Because you have to really believe in the founders, and they can pretty much execute on what they're trying to build. So like, it's really the founders, product market fit in their niche. So yeah, I mean, it's too early to tell. There's no profit right now.
Right.
So.
Right. That's the slogan of the space. There's no profit right now, but obviously will be for sure. This room, I'm sure, is packed with folks who are building, with founders at various stages of the cycle. What advice do you give? What advice do you give to folks who are either hoping to get funding in the future, or even like aren't sure, when do I approach firms and VCs and so on? What's kind of a pearl of wisdom or two? Phil?
Yeah, what I really value is being able to make your use case tangible. What was really cool about what happened with the AI agent stuff in Q4 is that it was very tangible. These agents were at least tweeting and interacting online, and a lot of it was garbage, no doubt, but it was tangible.
You see it happening. Yeah, you'd see like the birth of this industry happen before our very eyes.
Yeah, and
really
like
cool.
Everyone could kind of understand what was happening, and there were some standout examples like AI XBT, which turned out to be like really valuable, actually. And
totally.
And so I think these agents are very cool, and like all the frameworks and the connected tissue is great. But what's really important is showing what it can do. So like building a proof of concept and using the technology even for something small is super valuable to me.
Go get users. Like, go get users. It's not rocket science. Like, if you're gonna go try to build a company, you need to find product market fit. You need to understand the market. You need to be good at founder. If you're gonna pivot quickly. Like, it's the same old, investment advice as everything.
I mean, yeah, that is absolutely 100% true. And honestly, if you want the biggest competitive advantage in this space right now, know who you're building for and talk to them. You would be shocked at how many times we take pitches from people.
Are people not doing that? That sounds pretty obvious.
No market research.
None. Zero market research. These people see a framework, they spin up an idea in their head, and then in 10 minutes there's like some sort of a demo, and then it's like, okay, what's the developer experience like for people going to interact with this? Are these seasoned developers that want to do some nerd snipey activity? Are they people with that just want that have basic Python experience? Nobody has any idea. And if you want to have an advantage, I promise you, go talk to who you want to build for and understand how they operate.
Actually, I'm going to piggyback on that. As a journalist, I give the same advice on talking to press. I get pitches all the time that make absolutely no sense for me and what I do. So, and I'm sure you guys do, just your inboxes are flooded with things that are completely misaligned. So great point. Abraham, what advice do you have to share?
I mean, I want to ask you, like, do you suggest, like, actually, like, these companies, like, getting free subscriptions, to onboard as much users as possible? Is that a good way to, I think?
That's actually a really good question. I was just helping out with a project today. We were talking through this like exact same problem. And I think it's actually really difficult. Like, it's very easy to say like, oh, just build a funnel and people will come. But you also have to understand like what that funnel is leading them to. Because I think if you just over optimize for top of funnel and then you have nowhere for them to land and make a sticky environment at the end of that, then people are just going to go jump to the next thing that pulls them in at the top of funnel. So I think there's a balance to be found between a really strong top of funnel, whether that's an open source SDK or whether that's some sort of incentive program or a hype Twitter agent. Awesome, but have somewhere where you're leading them. I think that's really important.
All right, as we're winding down, final question. Let you guys go enjoy some beverages. Let's go predictions. Let's get a little funky. Let's get a little wild. Let's say like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. How do you see us shaking out? Or if you really want to give a prediction for like next 6 months, cool. But what's something that you think not enough folks are thinking about that we'll see in let's call it 5+ years out? Phil, start us off.
I mean, I just think we'll see a ton of multi-agent businesses actually operating and doing meaningful work. I was actually really encouraged by BioAgent. I haven't dug deeply into what's going on there, but the fact that they're using the backend infrastructure and doing some novel things, and it's a multi-agent system with each agent kind of doing different steps in the curation process. Like that's really cool. And so I think we'll start to see. I would say probably we'll have hundreds of really valuable businesses that are doing stuff in crypto that are almost fully autonomous.
Cameron?
Your entire mobile experience will change. Like, you're not going to have many apps. There's going to be an assistant that essentially runs your life for you, and everything's going to be verifiably private and verifiable, which means like even if it's not open source, you can still verify that it is the thing that it is. And yes, everything's definitely going to be multi-agent, but first we need to build agents that are useful before we connect them all. Also, software engineering agents are going to get out of this world amazing. And you could just prompt to create whatever. So I actually think most young people are going to have to be pushed more into entrepreneurship than companies, because agents are going to do work better than most people. And that is going to make a pretty big impact on the labor market. And it's really the people who are going to succeed are those who know how to use the tools. You don't need to be a programmer. You don't need to be a software engineer. You just need to be able to know how to use these tools. If you are a programmer, it's going to be much easier. But like, someone won't replace you. The AI won't replace you. Someone with an AI will replace you. And then those that can use the AI to build things will be the most successful.
Marshall?
What's the time horizon for the question? Like 5 years?
5 year plus, yeah. If you're going to go 50 years, go for it.
I mean, oh my God. It's really hard to not go fully apocalyptic in a sense. Maybe not apocalyptic, but like anarchic in a sense. But yeah. I totally agree with this point. I think for a concrete example, like web browsers are going to be essentially obsolete in 5 years. I don't think we will use them. I think the interface of how we interact with the digital world will be far more malleable and just-in-time updates on what you want to see. I think there's a very, very real chance that these AI communication substrate using crypto causes some sort of decoupling effect with crypto and fiat, which I think is crazy to think about, right? Like we always think about these prices in terms of US dollar or USDC, whatever you're thinking of it as. But I think there's a very real chance that like our economy is fundamentally like upset in some way, and that there's a hard difference between like a physical and digital economy. So I think that's potentially a spicy take there.
Great take.
And yeah, I mean, I could give a million more, but I truly do believe with how fast things are accelerating right now, like to play this prediction game is almost a little bit of it's kind of a joke.
It's a fool's errand, but I'm a fool, so we're doing it. Abraham.
I think, just building on top of everything, I think the whole world, like entertainment, gaming, social media, you won't even be able to tell if you're talking to the real person or not. It's like it could be a clone that's just posting for them, right? Because they know the user's behavior, especially when we see in like crypto. There's a lot of crypto AI agents that are like literally trying to copy your social media posts, like your X, your Instagram, your Reddit, LinkedIn, and so on. Even on LinkedIn, you won't even know if this guy's really posting.
Completely, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think it's a great prediction. I'm going to offer one more of my own, and I say this out of respect. I respect and love all the substance we're seeing here tonight. The actual work is amazing. My prediction is, I think the word AI agents. No. There's no but. There's no but. I love it and respect it, and I think the actual words, as a writer here, AI agents is kind of an awkward, clunky thing to say. And I think at some point there will be a rebranding. I don't know who's going to do it. I don't know how it's going to happen. But I think that I have hope there's like a smoother phrase for all of this awesome stuff that you guys are all building. Guys, that was so much fun. Really enjoyed it. You guys are awesome. Thanks again for having us. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.